I'm Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times. Thursday, March 24th. The big news today is from the federal courthouse in Little Rock. Mike Maggio of Conway, the former circuit judge who pleaded guilty to taking a bribe to reduce a verdict in a nursing home negligence case, was sentenced today in Judge Brian Miller's court. He got the maximum, 10 years in federal prison, and there's no prison time reduction in the federal system by very much at all. So he faces a long, stiff sentence for what he did. The judge said today that he was moved to give the maximum sentence because of the damage a dirty judge does to the system. He says a dirty judge is far worse for society than a corner dope dealer, and he felt he had to give Mike Maggio the maximum. Entering court today with his wife today, Maggio had little to say. He made no statement in court himself. His lawyer asked for leniency. This raises a number of questions. How can you be sentenced to prison for bribery and nobody else be charged with paying the bribe? We know the facts of the case are that Maggio admitted taking campaign contributions arranged by a former Republican senator from a nursing home owner and then reducing the verdict against that nursing home owner's nursing home by $4.2 million. They have not been charged with a crime. They admit working to help Mike Maggio on an election campaign, but they say they did not do so as a quid pro quo in an illegal way. There's still time for additional charges to be filed. The government generally keeps its counsel about those things. I should also add that there's been a tremendous amount of talk and some solid information of others testifying before the same public corruption grand jury. There's thoughts that this investigation led to or perhaps grew out of other review of other people's improprieties as public officials. Those investigations are ongoing. There's a lot of talk that other people may yet be in the federal courthouse for public corruption, if not necessarily directly related to this case. Other news at the Capitol today, the governor's bill to continue the private option Medicaid expansion, as it once was called. This is the Medicaid expansion enabled by Obamacare. The governor hopes to call it Arkansas Works, has begun circulating at the Capitol for a special session. It includes some work incentives and some insurance premium incentives and things that the governor hopes will make the program more palatable to enough of the legislature to pass the appropriation. As yet, there are no clear signs that a sufficient 75% vote is present to pass the appropriation. He can probably pass his program, but not necessarily the money to pay for it. If he doesn't get it, his budget is in a world of hurt. That's going to be the big story of the spring, I think. The State Ethics Commission Day, not today, but earlier, sent letters that confirms it's opened an investigation into improprieties by spending by the Conservative Arkansas PAC in 2 Senate races and against some candidates for Fayetteville aldermen who voted for the non-discrimination ordinance. They received money from outside sources, including $7,500 from Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar, spent the money in ways that were used to aid political campaigns of their favored candidates, but the money was not reported as campaign contributions. Rather, it was reported as administrative expenses. The Ethics Commission is going to decide if any laws were broken. Clearly, some laws were at the very least skirted in the course of laundering this money into political activities. David Pryor, the former senator who's on the University of Arkansas Board of Trustees, told me yesterday that he's drawing up a list of questions to ask the University of Arkansas administration about Athletic Director Jeff Long's desire to build a $100 million plus addition to the north end zone of the Razorback football stadium in Fayetteville. Pryor thinks it's too big. He thinks that the state university has other needs. He thinks it's an enormous amount, the biggest bond issue in history, most likely, maybe as big as $200 million, he says, for football seems out of whack with what the school's priorities ought to be. But he's going to have questions about competitive bidding, about the need for the seats, about whether contracts from TV are going to continue in the way they have to continue to support these sorts of things. He at least is raising some questions that ought to be answered and in time for the public to participate in the process. Jeff Long doesn't much like questions to be asked. Perhaps this time he'll have to answer some for once. Elsewhere today, last night, in fact, a federal judge approved the Little Rock School District's plan to open a new middle school in northwest Little Rock. Plaintiffs in a lawsuit challenging the takeover of the school district said that this would encourage segregation. Judge Price Marshall didn't see it that way, but he hasn't yet ruled on the larger claim in the suit that the state is taking action to further segregate the district or that the approval of additional charter schools would hurt the district. One more little thing, I learned today of a political group that's underway in Arkansas that's attempting to do something about the anti-nudity laws on the Arkansas statute books. They contend they are unconstitutional. I'll say this, that it occurs to me that a mass civil disobedience demonstration might be one way to make their point, but not knowing who's in this movement, I'm not ready to encourage that just anytime soon. Tell me what you think. I'm Max Brantley. I'll be back tomorrow.
You feel it in your heart. The spirit of Little Rock. We've had that spirit since 1927, helping build our city by producing decades of leaders in the heart of our state. We are the heart of business and innovation, the heart of politics and government, the heart of arts and culture, and in our city beats the heart of a Trojan. UALR, we are Little Rock's team.